November 2025. Classified document leaks to Canadian media. Title: RCAF Fighter Procurement Timeline Crisis Assessment. Urgent. Page 1. Opening paragraph stops. Defense Ministry cold. Current F-35 timeline creates 18-month Arctic air defense capability gap during which Canada cannot defend sovereign airspace without reliance on U.S. Air Force support from Alaska. This represents critical sovereignty failure, requiring immediate procurement reconsideration. Canadian military calling their own government's F-35 procurement a sovereignty failure. The document reveals two timelines: F-35, operational Arctic capability, March 2032, 9.5 years from 2022 contract signature. Gripen alternative, operational Arctic capability, June 2029, 3 years from potential contract signature. Difference: Canada defends Arctic starting 2029 or waits until 2032. 3 years of sovereignty versus 3 years of vulnerability. Welcome to the moment Canada discovers they can have operational fighters 3 years faster by switching to Gripen, where leaked military assessment forces government to confront timeline reality. We paid in 2022 for capability not arriving until 2032. And here's the kicker. Assessment was leaked by RCAF Lieutenant Colonel stationed at Alert, Nunavut, Canada's northernmost post, who watches Russian bombers monthly while flying 40-year-old CF-18. His leaked memo includes one devastating line: "We paid $1.9 billion in 2022 for Arctic defense. November 2025. Still flying aircraft older than I am. Russians fly freely. This is betrayal." Let me show you that leaked assessment proving 3-year advantage. The Alert commander, whose career ended for leaking truth. The November 2025 Russian intercept failure that triggered everything. And the mixed fleet decision that blindsided Pentagon. Because when Arctic sovereignty is violated monthly, while waiting for fighters, 3 years stops being timeline and becomes survival. November 2025, the intercept failure that changed everything. Before showing you the leaked assessment, let me show you why it was leaked. November 8, 2025, 3:47 a.m. Alert, Nunavut. Russian Tu-95 bomber penetrates within 55 kilometers of Canadian Arctic airspace. NORAD detects immediately. Alert Station Commander Lieutenant Colonel David Morrison orders CF-18 scramble from Cold Lake, Alberta, 2,847 kilometers away. CF-18S launch. Flight time: 2 hours, 38 minutes. Russian mission duration: 31 minutes. Bomber completes reconnaissance, departs before Canadian fighters arrive. Morrison's after-action report, the document that gets him relieved of command for leaking, is brutal. Russian aircraft violated sovereign airspace, completed intelligence collection, departed uncontested. CF-18 response time exceeded mission duration by 127 minutes. Modern fighter-based alert, 9-minute intercept. Mission prevention versus mission observation. Canada paid $1.9 billion. December 2022 for F-35 capability preventing this scenario. November 2025. Russians operate freely while we wait. First F-35 delivery, 2029. Operational Arctic deployment, 2032. 7 more years of this. Then the paragraph that ends his career. Recommendation: immediate timeline reconsideration. Alternative procurement delivering capability, 2029 versus 2032. Represents 3 years defending sovereignty versus 3 years watching violations. I cannot in conscience command Arctic Station, knowing paid for capability won't arrive for 7 more years, while adversaries operate monthly. Morrison sends report to Defense Ministry. Gets no response. December 2025. Leaks assessment to CBC and Globe and Mail. January 2026. Relieved of command for unauthorized disclosure of operational assessments. But his leak triggers exactly what Defense Ministry feared: public discovery that F-35 timeline fails Arctic defense. By the way, if you're learning how military whistleblowers expose procurement failures, hit that like button and subscribe. The leaked assessment proving 3-year advantage. Morrison's leaked report includes full RCAF timeline analysis. The comparison that forces government crisis. F-35 timeline reality. December 2022. Contract signed. $1.9 billion paid. 2023 to 2025. Waiting. 0 deliveries. Lockheed production backlog. September 2029. First F-35 delivery. 6 years, 9 months after payment. June 2030. Initial operational capability, 12 aircraft. March 2032. Arctic deployment ready, 24 aircraft, 9 years 3 months after payment. Gripen alternative timeline, February 2026. Contract signature, hypothetical, May 2026. Production begins Saab Linköping, October 2028. First Gripen delivery, 2 years 8 months. June 2029. IOC, 12 aircraft. January 2030. Arctic deployment ready, 24 aircraft, 3 years 11 months. The 3-year advantage, Gripen Arctic, ready January 2030. F-35, Arctic ready, March 2032. Morrison defends Arctic with modern fighters 26 months earlier, with Gripen versus waiting for F-35. The gap problem, CF-18, mandatory retirement, December 2028, structural life limits. F-35, IOC, June 2030. Gap, 18 months of no capability. Gripen IOC, June 2029. Gap, 6 months. Manageable. Morrison's conclusion, 3-year faster timeline isn't procurement preference. It's whether Canada defends Arctic 2029 to 2032 or relies on U.S. support. Unacceptable sovereignty dependency. When assessment leaks January 2026, Canadian public reads, "We paid 2022. Russians violate airspace 2025. Capability arrives 2032. Alternative arrives 2029. Government cannot defend waiting 3 extra years." The Pentagon panic call that leaked January 20th, 2026. Week after Morrison leak, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin calls Canadian Defense Minister Anita Anand. Emergency timeline discussion. Call recording doesn't leak, but Canadian government readout, leaked to media, reveals confrontation. Austin, Morrison assessment exaggerates timeline gap. F-35 represents superior long-term capability. Timeline concerns manageable through interim solutions. Anand, Secretary, interim solutions mean U.S. aircraft defending Canadian Arctic. Morrison commanded alert. His assessment reflects operational reality. 3-year timeline difference represents 3 years of sovereignty. We need concrete acceleration commitment, not interim dependency. Austin, production queue presents constraints. Exploring all options to address Canadian concerns. Anand, exploring options doesn't defend Arctic. We require commitment, operational capability by 2030, or we evaluate alternatives delivering that timeline. Austin, that timeline acceleration structurally challenging given existing commitments, requesting additional time to assess feasibility. Anand, we've waited since 2022. Morrison's leaked assessment proves waiting isn't working. Timeline reconsideration proceeding unless concrete acceleration confirmed within 30 days. Call ends with no resolution. Pentagon cannot commit to acceleration. Lockheed's queue prevents it, and an authorized leak of readout to pressure Pentagon publicly. Instead, confirms what Morrison proved. F-35 timeline cannot accelerate. Alternative required. Why Saab can deliver when Lockheed cannot. Now watch why Gripen's 3-year timeline is achievable, while F-35's 7-year timeline is immovable. Saab's production reality. Linköping facility. 24 to 30 Gripen E annually. Surge capacity to 36. Current commitments. Brazil final deliveries 2nd quarter 2026. Czech Republic beginning 1st quarter 2028. Production gap Q3 2026 through Q4 2027. 16 months available capacity. Canada's 88 Gripens. First 24 aircraft fill 2026 to 2027 gap immediately. Remaining 64 aircraft produce 2028 to 2030 at full capacity. First delivery October 2028, 32 months from February 2026 signature. Lockheed's production trap, Fort Worth, 156 F-35s annually for 17 plus nations. Backlog, 800 plus aircraft ahead of Canada. Canada's queue position behind 340 plus committed aircraft. Math and politically impossible. The mixed fleet decision that blindsided everyone. March 15th, 2026. Canada announces decision after 60-day review. Every defense analyst expects one of 2 outcomes. Option 1, remain with F-35, despite timeline, political pressure, sunk costs, U.S. relationship. Option 2, cancel F-35, choose Gripen, timeline priority, Morrison's recommendation. Defense Minister Anand's actual announcement stuns both Pentagon and Saab. Canada will implement mixed fleet procurement strategy, maintaining F-35 commitment, 44 aircraft delivering 2029 to 2032, adding immediate Gripen procurement, 44 aircraft delivering 2028 to 2030. Mixed fleet addresses urgent Arctic timeline requirement while preserving F-35 advanced capability investment. Nobody predicted this. Both aircraft, split fleet, but here's the critical detail. Delivery sequence: first Canadian modern fighter, Gripen, October 2028. First operational Arctic squadron, Gripen, government change procurement because of his leak. And across NATO, commanders watching, Canadian officer leaked timeline assessment, got fired, got vindicated, changed procurement. Truth-telling works. The NATO Cascade Morrison triggered, June 2026. 3 months after Canada's mixed fleet announcement. Watch the cascade. Poland, Day 15. Evaluating mixed fleet procurement model following Canadian precedent. Gripen for immediate timeline. F-35 for long-term capability. Finland, Day 22. Already ordered 64 F-35s, delivering 2028 to 2030. Assessing additional Gripen procurement, delivering 2027 to 2029 for immediate capability, similar to Canadian approach. Romania, Day 31. Canadian mixed fleet demonstrates timeline capability balance, exploring similar model for Romanian requirements. Greece, Day 45. Ordered 20 F-35s, evaluating additional 24 Gripens for immediate Aegean operations following Canadian template. 4 NATO countries in 45 days, all citing Canadian model, all exploring Gripen for immediate timeline, F-35 for later capability. Pentagon's dilemma: cannot attack mixed fleet model, countries still buying F-35s, but model prioritizes competitor for urgent timeline, relegates F-35 to supplement arriving later. Worse than full defection, because politically acceptable, maintaining F-35 relationship while operationally undermining F-35 primacy. Competitor arrives first, becomes foundation. And Morrison's vindication validates every NATO commander questioning timeline. Canadian whistleblower exposed timeline problem, proved correct, changed procurement. Telling operational truth about timeline failures works. What 3 years faster actually means. To 2032. Canada defends Arctic with Gripen. Russian incursions intercepted. Morrison commands modern fighters at alert. If waiting for F-35 only. 2029 to 2032 gap filled by CF-18S beyond service life or U.S. support. Morrison commands obsolete equipment or foreign aircraft. 3 years defending sovereignty versus 3 years of vulnerability or dependency. The NATO impact Canada proved. Major ally can prioritize timeline through mixed fleet without full F-35 rejection. Gripen for immediate need. F-35 for long-term capability. Poland, Finland, Romania, Greece replicating model. All exploring Gripen first, F-35 later. Template: Pentagon cannot counter because countries maintain F-35 commitment, but Gripen achieves operational primacy by arriving first. The human vindication of Morrison leaked assessment proving timeline problem. Got fired, got vindicated, changed procurement. NATO commanders learning. Telling operational truth about timeline works. Even if you're punished initially, truth forces change. And that lesson spreading faster than mixed fleet template itself. Hit subscribe for updates on mixed fleet cascade, because 3 years faster means Arctic defended 2029 instead of 2032. Morrison proved it. Canada acted on it. NATO is following. What does 3 years faster delivery mean? Means Morrison commands modern fighters at alert starting 2029 instead of flying CF-18S until 2032. Means Canada defends sovereignty 3 years sooner. Means mixed fleet template spreading across NATO. And means one whistleblower's leaked assessment change procurement forever. The numbers prove it. Morrison proved it. Canada chose based on it. And his vindication proves telling truth about timeline works, even when it costs your command.